We're coming out again.
Some more letters.
Yeah, so if you've been watching our union, watching our YouTube channel, then you know that we are of course, a same-sex union. And Adam is transitioning into his true identity and nature, who he is as a divine being. But there's more.
Surprise.
Yeah, and this is perfect timing too because June is Pride Month, so happy Pride Month. And
But it has nothing to do with those letters, though.
it doesn't, but we'll tell you why.
Yeah.
But first, you know, in coming out as, well, me as a, attracted to the same sex, I started to come out when I was 23 years old. And, I slowly got more and more comfortable with it. And I always knew that I felt different from everyone else, but I thought that the reason that I felt different was because, well, I'm in a same-sex union. And I thought, well, that's why. Most people, or at least the people that I was around, they were in heterosexual relationships. And even in accepting myself unconditionally, and that was a whole can of worms in itself, you know, I still felt on some level very different from everyone else, and I guess you did too. Is it the same for you? Do you want to share a little bit on your end? Or
Wow.
you just want me to keep rolling with it?
Well, you were on a roll
Okay,
there,
okay,
but
I'll keep going then. Yeah, and where do I even go with this? Well, I can go back to when we both were younger. We experienced trouble in school, not because we were troublemakers. What I mean is trouble processing the information that we were learning. And I know for me, I was sent for some testing to find out if I had a learning disability that they didn't find anything, nothing, checked out or come to be. And so essentially, they would put me through. Here in America, we have what you call summer school. If you're in America, you know very well what that is. If you're in another country, well, this is what we have, summer school. And so they essentially pushed me through the school system because they couldn't figure out why I was having trouble processing and understanding information that any other kid could. Did you have the same experience?
we
I don't want
didn't.
to speak for you. We had a very similar experience, but in
Well, we
case you
didn't
weren't
have
there.
summer school though, but yeah, I had a similar experience with
Mhm.
school in general. Like, yeah, just your general like math is hard and
Yeah.
and these things like that. I don't know. At that point in time, like I don't know, school I think for a lot of people is I don't know how to say it. Like you have to learn a lot of things that are not really like necessary, or like some
Mhm.
things you can have use for, but some things are not so necessary, perhaps. And then it's like if you can't follow along, then you kind of like get left behind a little bit
Mhm.
there, and you might be like smart at other things, but that's not
Mhm.
what you're learning in school. So yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Our viewers are probably like, where are they taking us? Like, what even is
This is
this?
like a wow.
We get that they're
Yeah.
gay, they're LGBTQ, but like, where are we going? Like, what's the second coming out of? Well, we're almost there.
I don't think it's gonna be that hard.
No, no, it's probably like, all
We
the
already
writing is
mentioned
on
there
the
was
wall
some
here.
letters.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's additional letters. But anyways, as we continue to grow in, our adulthood and things of that nature, there were always just things that seemed different about us outside of being same-sex union. And we finally decided to go get tested for autism and ADHD. Adam was diagnosed with ADHD, what, 18 years ago?
Something like that.
But you put it on a shelf because you
Yeah.
felt ashamed of it. Is that right?
Yeah, I would say. And I didn't, I was like, what am I going to do with this? What does this mean? Like, ugh,
Yeah. Yeah.
what does that mean? I think like, and that's part of like a lot of masks you put on, right? Like,
Mhm.
this doesn't fit in my life. As how am I supposed to like look, right? Like, or how I need to like, sustain my life.
Mhm.
So. yeah, put that on a shelf and like treated myself as very like, you know, I need to function like this. I need to function
Neurotypical.
neurotypical, right?
Hmm.
Well, that's, when you function, when you have like a so-called, normal functioning brain,
Hmm.
not like yeah.
Exactly. So we talked to our doctor because we were kind of intuitively feeling like, plus we have a son that is ADHD as well and has some other things. And we really kind of like resonated with what we see and experience in him. And as we continue to look up ADHD and find out kind of like the I don't really want to say signs and symptoms because it's not like a what would you call it? The the characteristics of it, maybe that's the better word here. We really like read like, oh my God, that's me. Oh my God, that's what's been happening. Like for instance, I worked in a retail store for years. It was one of my very first jobs that I had. And the lights were so bright. By the end of the day, my eyeballs felt like they were falling out of my head because it was just so bright. And it's because I have such sensitivities. And, anyways, we went through this testing. Our doctor referred us to a psychologist here in the area that we live in. And we both went to the same and we both worked our individual processes through that. And at the end of the testing, it took about what, 2, 3, 4 weeks to have the
Yeah.
results back. And it come back that I'm autistic, I have ADHD, and there's a little bit of OCD, a little
So
obsessive
sprinkle.
compulsive disorder. And
Yeah.
you have the same twin flames here. Not all twin flames will experience this,
It's
but
true, but
we
we're
have this exact same diagnosis.
yeah.
And so we've been in the that's our coming out, by the way. We're also
We got all them letters,
we do,
like
we do.
yeah.
So we've still been in the process of like unmasking and getting to know ourselves and who we truly are. And it's interesting because not only for the longest time in my life, not only did I, before I could start to share with people that I felt attracted to the same sex, not only was I hiding that and trying to be heterosexual, I was also attempting to be neurotypical. And so on the twin flame journey, coming into union with your twin flame, it requires that you be and embrace your authentic self. And that's why for so many years, I was so numbed out to the fact that I had a twin flame or meeting my twin flame or even, you know, taking the spiritual journey because I was so far away from who I truly am as a person. And, now we've just been working the process of unpacking. We've had a lot of insights about ourselves. Do you want to share if you can think of some of the insights that we've come to recently about ourselves and that would be helpful for other people?
Yeah, I feel like maybe we're probably gonna go deeper in some other videos, but I
Hmm.
feel like one of the things is just like compassion for self. I feel like when you go back and think about the life you lived,
Hmm.
like not only were there traumas in life, right? Like, growing up, but just like thinking back is so kind of like, oh, I didn't have the support that I, needed as a child and growing up. But like you can have so much more support for yourself, like,
Hmm.
or, that compassion and that, um, man, my words get jumbled right now. It's so late in that.
No, yeah,
But
it
like,
is.
yeah, yeah, but like having so much compassion, like, I've been driving myself so hard, like trying to be something I'm not in a sense. Not that I'm like, oh, now I'm like disabled and like I can't do nothing,
Hmm.
but it's like, oh, my brain just like functions a bit differently. And it's, so much easier to just have compassion and have, more patience with myself there.
Yeah, that was something that we had to let go of, that we were an idea that we were stupid or ignorant, because I know me personally, I carried that around my entire life, and it's very heavy to carry that and thinking that you are ignorant. And so I would hide from growing because I had this belief that, well, I can't do it because that's how, the school system essentially gave up on me, right? They couldn't find what was wrong with me because I was born in the 80s. And it was something that was more focused on maybe males than it was, I guess, because females, maybe they hide it better, or you can be high masking to where it's just,
Yeah, just it can just show differently, like different
yeah,
symptoms,
presents
like yeah.
differently.
So yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry, were you gonna say
Well,
something?
it presents differently, so that oftentimes, like, girls or women, they
Hmm.
often get, diagnosed later in life or not at all,
Right.
perhaps, right? So,
Yeah, and so in my experience of going to school through the school system, it's set up for one type of, you got to learn in this certain way in order to retain and grow with the information. And if you don't learn that one certain way, then there's kind of like an idea about you, like, oh, there's something wrong with you. And being on this journey of coming together with my twin flame, there's so much that I've had to let go of in terms of, believing that there was something wrong with me when in fact there wasn't anything wrong with me. It was just that my brain function, it processes differently. And it was just coming into, but what you were saying too is looking back on our inner child and having so much compassion that there wasn't actually anything wrong with us. It was just the fact that we processed and learned in a different way. And that wasn't supported in the way that we needed it, that way that we could, and that was something that was interesting too when we were going through the testing. When I would sit in a chair and do the test, I performed poorly. But when I could stand up and move around and stem and things like that, my performance went up. And so what I've been doing is when I'm going through training materials and things like that, I just walk on the treadmill, and it helps immensely because I'm kind of like feeding all of those places in my brain that need to be fed in order to retain and learn the information.
yeah, so it's a very interesting process, like, because we did all sorts of like cognitive tests, and like,
Mhm.
there's absolutely nothing wrong with the IQ or nothing, because we could, going from that school, make made believe that you're kind of like dumb or something like that, you couldn't follow along, but like doing all these cognitive tests is like, wow, I thought that was like super fast, and I had a lot of
Mhm.
fun with those, right? Like, but there was absolutely nothing wrong with my IQ. I was like, having a lot of fun with that, and it was
Mhm.
like my I'm just like, really good at like pattern recognition and like a lot of other things, right? Like, so just different, right?
Right. So what is like our purpose and our message here for anyone that's watching this, whether they be, you know, wanting to come out LGBTQ or just feel like they're different. What is our core twin on the twin flame journey? That in itself is different because not everyone's on their twin flame journey. I'm telling you, we got all the letters over here. But what is the purpose of this video and this message? What are we trying to communicate to the viewer?
Well, it's safe to be yourself, and it's,
Self-acceptance.
self-acceptance
Mm-hmm.
and authenticity is sexy. So,
I like that. It is. And that's how you attract your twin flame. And it doesn't matter where you're at, who you are, how you operate, how you process, what you're attracted to. In all of it, it only matters that you are yourself and that you embrace that and you accept yourself unconditionally in all ways. And that's divine. And you're going to have on this journey, you're going to have a lot of identity crisis. And so when you start to accept yourself, what you thought to be true of yourself will fall away. And it can feel uncomfortable, like the idea of letting go. And I mean, granted, I knew early on that I was not heterosexual. You were not, it was different for you. You thought for years that you were,
I
right?
had a wild ride.
So, can you just share a little bit about how you felt when you finally acknowledged and accepted that you were attracted to the same sex? Like how, like what, like how was that process for you? How did you feel? Like
I
just
think it was a bit exciting at first.
exciting?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think that was the first thing that comes up. Like, of course there was a lot of like feelings of like I think that's where like the masks comes in again because you're like I want to like just keep it like normal. I don't want to stand out in any way, right? So yeah, a little bit of this and that, right? So a lot of self-acceptance there too had to
Mhm.
come into play.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I didn't want to
That's
stand
all
out.
you want to add
Didn't
to
want to,
that?
well, I didn't want to stand out. So I had some issues with it.
Well, I feel like, things that you shared with me was that even though like you started embracing your
Mhm.
authenticity, and feeling like, oh, I'm a masculine energy. And then in that, like you maintain the dresses, maintain
Oh,
the
yeah.
long hair, maintain
Oh,
the
yeah.
makeup, because although you were embracing yourself, you weren't yet ready to let the external things fall away. And I'm speaking, from what you
Well,
shared with me,
yeah,
but you feel free
I
to,
had a process.
yeah.
I took my time.
Right. And so what we're saying is that even with neurodivergent, you know, like in letting go that I'm not neurotypical, I'm neurodivergent, meaning my brain just operates in a different way, have carried the masks. Obviously, I'm still getting to know who I am as what I am. And I still find that I do carry masks because it's simply my safety zone. And that was the same for Adam. That was Adam's safety zone. And regardless of where you're at on your journey, it's all masking in a way. You can wear that mask for as long as you need to so that it's kind of like, you're in your shell and you're working your process in your shell and in your cozy place until you feel fully ready to come out and share that with the world. And that's totally appropriate. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. And wherever you're at in your journey of accepting yourself, just do you and be you in the best way that feels good to you, and that's divine and beautiful. But know that as you do, spiritually speaking, accept yourself and embrace yourself, that love will come back to you. It's not that you're going to accept yourself and you're going to be met in a world that's cruel and unkind. You will be met by people that are meant to be in your life. They will love and support you completely. And you might be quite surprised at how people come in to love and support you. Maybe people that you never even knew would come to love and support you in your journey. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
good.
anything else you want
Well, I think it's just like exploring yourself,
to?
whatever that
Mm-hmm.
means to you, and come closer to yourself, and that means coming closer to your twin flame. So
Yeah, exactly. That was perfect. Yeah. Any other words of wisdom before we close out?
I think that was it. I think that
Okay.
was quite a bit.
All right. Yeah. So thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next video.